नमस्कार, रियल इंडिया न्यूज़ में आपका स्वागत है। डॉक्टर वंदना शिवा जो कि नवदान्य की डायरेक्टर हैं, उनको फुकुओका जापान ने इस हफ्ते पुरस्कृत किया है। इस पुरस्कार समारोह में भाग लेते हुए डॉक्टर वंदना शिवा ने जो भाषण दिया, आइए सुनिए।
We are repeatedly told that this century will be an Asian century. The question is, will it be an Asian century based on the colonization of nature, where India destroys every river and we are watching it happen, or China, where we destroy all our cultures? The richness of our cultural diversity was stressed repeatedly in the panel discussion earlier. But as Dr. Nandi said, it also involves a colonizing of our future, living today as if there was no tomorrow. And societies cannot carry on that way. This planet has limits, and it can provide forever if we live within those limits. Our societies have resilience, and each of our civilizations has stood the ground for centuries, and yet large elements of our societies are starting to give up. I mention particularly the suicides of Indian farmers, probably the most resilient of cultures, who would get uprooted by a storm, a rain, a tsunami, and come right back to farm. Today, more than 250,000 of them have given up and ended their lives with suicides. But it isn't just the Indian peasant, the youth of Japan, finding their future closed. 30,000 suicides a year is what I found out. Now, these grand civilizations weren't meant to be suicidal civilizations. They are being pushed into the suicidal path by a mismatch between an economy based on greed, limitless growth, limitless exploitation, and the necessity of conflict, violence, and war that goes with it. And I want to both remember the Maruti Suzuki manager who lost his life, because that's one other element of the unnecessary violence an economy of greed and exploitation leads to, where everyone is angry and everyone feels discontent. We can shape our economies better. We can shape our cultures better. How do we avoid our beautiful ecosystems, our diverse cultures, from being bulldozed by the violence and boredom of the uniformity and monocultures of globalization? We can only do that when we start recognizing how precious our cultures and our biodiversity are, giving dignity to what we have inherited. The Japanese could fight the globalization of rice by taking pride in their rice farming. And I remember, because I've been part of the WTO protests with the Japanese farmers, the shops would have Japanese rice. So even though the American rice came, people would still buy the Japanese rice. And in a similar way, we brought back the mustard oil, even when it was supposed to have been made extinct to create markets for soya. How do we create cultures and economies that sustain life on Earth, increase human well-being and happiness? And I think that is what we have to offer for our future generations, because the current model has no hope for them. The current model in India, in Japan, in the US, in Europe, in Africa and Latin America is a closed future for future generations. And no generation has a right to close the future for the future. We have to keep it open through our diversities, our pluralities, our generosities. So I'm so grateful for this Fukuoka Award, and I will do everything to use it and the links it creates between us, between Japan and India, to create another Asian century, an alternative Asian century, an Asian century based on simplicity and beauty that our cultures have mastered over thousands of years, and for 20 years we seem to have forgotten. For the sufficiency and equality, Japan was one of the most equal societies and can still be. For our harmony with nature and people, again our cultures have taught us this. For creating what Tagore called Maitri as the foundation of what Japan is and what India can be. And definitely our rice cultures, our peasant cultures, our tea cultures, the ultimate religion of compassion, Buddhism. These are deep connections on which we can build, and I look forward to doing it with you. For me, the prize is an invitation to dedicate the rest of my life to protect our diversity, our future, our hope, our joy. Thank you.